The legal battle surrounding Sean "Diddy" Combs has entered a new phase following his recent guilty verdicts on charges related to prostitution. Court documents obtained by E! News reveal that Combs' legal team filed a motion on July 30th seeking either an overturn of the convictions or a new trial. This motion comes less than a month after the verdicts were delivered, and it represents a significant escalation in the legal strategy employed by Combs' defense. The motion argues that the guilty verdicts are unprecedented and misinterpret the legal definition of prostitution. Combs' attorneys contend that even if the evidence presented at trial is accepted at face value, his actions did not constitute prostitution as defined by the relevant statutes. They claim that at most, Combs engaged in voyeurism as part of a consensual swingers lifestyle, which does not fall under the legal definition of prostitution. This argument hinges on a narrow interpretation of the law, focusing on the specific actions and intent required to establish the crime of prostitution. The defense is essentially arguing that the prosecution failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Combs' actions met the legal criteria for the charges. The motion explicitly demands an acquittal, asserting that the evidence presented at trial does not support the guilty verdicts. However, the motion also includes a contingency plan, requesting a new trial if the acquittal is not granted. This request for a new trial is specifically conditioned on the exclusion of evidence related to the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, on which Combs was found not guilty. The defense strategy aims to separate the guilty verdicts from the not guilty verdicts, arguing that the evidence related to the latter charges should not be admissible in a retrial on the prostitution charges. This strategic move seeks to limit the potential prejudicial effect of the not guilty verdicts on a new jury's consideration of the prostitution charges. The filing of this motion follows the trial judge's denial of Combs' request for bail pending sentencing. This decision leaves Combs incarcerated in a New York City detention center, awaiting his sentencing hearing scheduled for October 3rd. The denial of bail suggests that the judge views Combs as a flight risk or a danger to the community, indicating a serious assessment of the gravity of the convictions. The continued detention of Combs adds another layer of pressure to the legal proceedings and underscores the seriousness with which the court views the charges. The prosecution's response to this motion remains to be seen. E! News has reached out for comment but has yet to receive a response. The prosecution's arguments will likely focus on the sufficiency of the evidence presented at trial and the appropriateness of the jury's verdict. They may also address the defense's argument regarding the interpretation of the law, providing a counterargument based on established legal precedent and the specific facts of the case. The prosecution's response will be crucial in determining the next steps in the legal process. The legal arguments presented in the motion are complex and will require careful consideration by the court. The defense's interpretation of the law, focusing on the distinction between voyeurism and prostitution, will be a central point of contention. The court will need to review the evidence presented at trial, the legal arguments made by both sides, and relevant legal precedent to determine the merits of the motion. The decision on the motion will have significant implications for Combs' future, potentially leading to an acquittal, a new trial, or upholding the original guilty verdicts. The continued incarceration of Combs pending sentencing heightens the stakes of the legal proceedings. The October 3rd sentencing hearing will be a critical juncture in the case, determining the consequences of the guilty verdicts. The sentencing judge will consider various factors, including the severity of the crimes, Combs' criminal history, and any mitigating circumstances, in determining an appropriate sentence. The sentence could range from probation to a significant prison term, depending on the judge's assessment of the case. The legal saga of Sean "Diddy" Combs highlights the complexities of the legal system and the challenges faced by high-profile individuals navigating the justice system. The case raises important questions about the interpretation of the law, the role of evidence in criminal trials, and the balance between individual rights and the interests of the public. The outcome of the motion and the subsequent sentencing hearing will have significant consequences for Combs and will undoubtedly continue to be a subject of intense public interest and scrutiny. The legal maneuvering and the high stakes involved underscore the importance of this case and its potential implications for future legal interpretations of similar cases.